Hello!
Hello.
I'm off screen.
Yes.
We'll get on screen.
Get on screen. Get in here. You
Yeah,
can move the camera back a little bit.
Work more than that. Yeah.
Put my monkeys away. So, Zara made us watch a bad blaxploitation film.
Blaxploitation Kung Fu Hybrid. Cleopatra Jones and the Casino of Gold, 1975.
Yeah.
Sequel to Cleopatra Jones, which was the inspiration for Cleopatra Schwartz from Kentucky Fried Movie.
I'm missing the fact there was no rabbi in the film.
Why would you think there was a rabbi?
You do get the joke if you were older, dear.
Kentucky Fried Movie's parody was Cleopatra Schwartz, where it was Cleopatra Jones, you know, the crime-fighting kick-ass sort of lady, but she was getting married to a Hasidic rabbi, and you know, who assisted her in, you know, fighting crime.
When we're done, we'll pull up the parody video. It's quite amusing.
Why am I now suddenly thinking of the Hebrew Hammer?
Kentucky Fried.
That was probably one of the main inspirations for it, probably.
Kentucky Fried Movie is very funny.
Yes.
And very, very, very problematic.
Yes.
Is that the one with like the cock puncher skits?
No, that was
that's
the Onion.
That's the Onion, and it's problematic for completely different reasons.
Yeah. Kentucky Fried Movie was the first film by the guys who did Airplane.
Yeah. And it feels it's effectively a mini sketch parody show.
Yeah, but it was
a wee film in the middle, which is really problematic.
It was directed by...
Speaking of problematic, the way this sofa and this angle, it makes me look like a giant blob.
It is a very, very unflattering sofa.
Yeah.
If we see you to sort of sit at weird angles and stuff.
You're like leaning back, so look at you.
Anyway, Cleopatra Jones, this is a request and it's been a long time coming. Apologies for that. I think it's the second time I've watched it.
Apologies for taking ages or apologies for making us watch it?
Both, I'd imagine.
This is far from the worst blaxploitation
True.
film. I mean...
It's far from the worst film you've made us watch recently.
And you know...
Yeah, and ass cancer is far from the worst cancer as well.
Depends on the I can't... How do you make that judgment?
How do you make the judgment that this is far from the
I've
worst?
seen a lot of blaxploitation films and I've seen a bunch that are worse.
I listen to the opinions of doctors.
Do
doctors often have opinions on 1970s black exploitation films?
You would be surprised.
Did you whip your dad into this?
Yeah, I'm gonna make my dad watch TNT Jackson. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
I'm pretty sure his reaction will be,
Okay, so this one we got. Okay, in the first Cleopatra Jones, she's got a big afro, she's shooting guys, she's in America. And this one, they're like, wait a sec, blaxploitation and kung fu are both a thing. Why don't we have her go to Hong Kong and get rid of her afro for some reason and make her wear the most amazing fashions? Like, this is one of the most... Okay, the most costume changes in a film, I believe, is Elizabeth Taylor in Cleopatra. This should be like second or third in the list though, because every single scene she's in, she's wearing a completely different ensemble. She comes into this film at the very start on a helicopter, and you physically could not fit all of her costumes inside that helicopter. It would be impossible. In one of them, she's been wearing so many costumes, and in one scene, she's dressed as Peter Davison as the Doctor.
Hey, well, maybe.
You wish you had a pearlescent tartan jacket.
That outfit, that would make an amazing Doctor Who. That was Grace Jones as Quentin Crisp. That was fucking amazing.
Still can't get over the casino one that looked like she was wearing a synchronized swimmer bedazzled outfit and swim cap
From a busty Berkeley.
and a gossamer nightgown that you usually see in parodies like Blazing Saddles when he goes in to talk to the Frau.
Maybe this was all deliberate. As you say, the most costume changes was in Cleopatra.
Mm-hmm.
This is Cleopatra Jones.
Yeah.
So clearly they were thinking about it. This was all planned.
This is a reference. It's a meta reference.
Yes, 100%.
But the lady, I've never seen her anything but Cleopatra Jones, and she basically comes across, especially in these outfits, as like a harmless version of Grace Jones. Like, Grace Jones is fantastic. You know, she's tall, she's very intense. I mean, if you put her on screen with Henry Selly, who played Shaka Zulu in the 80s, when they did actually do a thing together. But it's the most intensity you've ever seen in a film. Like, they could melt film stock by being together. They were so intense. But this lady, she's basically Grace Jones, but not intense. So she's not terrifying when she beats you up. You know Grace Jones, don't you?
Vaguely aware, yes.
From A View to a Kill and Conan the Destroyer and Boomerang, you know, the Eddie Murphy classic. And, Wolf Girl, otherwise known as Blood Moon, where she played a bearded woman in a film about a freak show with Tim Curry was the ringmaster. That film was awesome, by the way.
Okay. But yeah, back to talking about this one.
Yes.
So, the fight scenes were...
Oh, they were great. They're like, we were really enthusiastic.
They were hilariously bad.
There was a lot of casual murder.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
casual murder.
towards the end, they wipe out an entire population of probably every criminal in Macau is dead.
Yeah, she's also like some sort of international cop
Yeah.
for this. So this is bad. This is not good PR. This is an American showing up in Hong Kong and just killing a bunch
And
of
then
Chinese people.
enlisting the Hong Kong police to go to Macau, you know, which is a completely different country technically at that point, and then wiping out a bunch of...
Well, here's the thing. She didn't know they were police. As far as she knew, these were just a random bunch of people she found on the street who apparently had a dojo full of guns.
And she's like, well, this is fine, it's probably just Hong Kong, you know.
Like, this is the plot, too. Like, this is overall, like, she refuses to work with a partner because she doesn't trust the guy who's setting it all up.
Because he's called Stanley.
Yeah, I can't hear that name without thinking of that scene now, thank you. So she ends up walking to a taxi. Taxi refuses to take her to this dangerous place. This random...
The dangerous place, which is Kowloon, which was one of the big... It was okay. There was no law in Kowloon, as I understand it, but it was a big hub. So taxi drivers would take you to Kowloon, I imagine. It was a lot of businesses were there.
Anyway, so taxi man refused to take her to this completely legitimate destination.
No, it wasn't legitimate, but it was a. As I understand it, there was because of a snafu in negotiations. Neither the British nor the Chinese owned it, and so therefore this patch of land was basically a free for all. It was basically like a mega city in Judge Dredd. It built upwards in this huge sort of clump of one big building, and because no one owned it internationally, you could do whatever you like. But because of this as well, a lot of businesses operated out of there. That's how I understand it. I could be wrong.
Fascinating. But so this random Chinese woman who's in the queue behind her for the taxi is like, what's going on? Why are you not getting in this cab? She explains to the taxi man to take her there. And then later on in the film, when the Cleopatra inevitably gets herself in trouble with a bunch of Chinese gangsters, this Chinese woman again reappears, kicks a dude, and suddenly they're best friends.
Yeah.
She then introduces Cleopatra Jones to her crew, and then she just accepts this.
Yeah, Cleopatra Jones is just like, well, you know, I assume that Chinese people follow me around and beat the shit out of people at my behest. I said, why wouldn't they?
So yeah, it's very silly. And then to the offside, there's these two other black cops who are like undercover pretending to buy drugs. And at one point, they are in the big boss's den chatting to them, and they're both hanging off these Chinese gears who have been given to them for their entertainment. And then suddenly they realise that these gears might not be here of their own free will, and sudden realisation. It's terrible. It's like, do you honestly think that you're walking into what is essentially the Chinese mafia, who have pointed you to these girls? You honestly think those girls were there of their own free will?
Those two guys weren't quite the brightest guys in the world.
No. We can't call them the Chinese mafia because they were based in Macau, which was a Portuguese place at the time.
Okay, the Portuguese.
Technically, the
Sino-Portuguese.
mafia.
So what you're saying is I didn't expect the Spanish Inquisition of culture in this?
The Sino-Portuguese mafia.
I wanted to make a joke. It was a bit.
Because the Spanish Inquisition, you just offended them.
One of
It's like
these.
calling me Irish English.
No, we'll not go there.
One of the black guys who were with the criminals. I spent fucking ages trying to recognize him, trying to remember where I recognized this guy from. I looked up on IMDb, and it's the guy who gets the "Do you feel lucky, punk?" speech from Dirty Harry. I was like, what a thing to recognize a guy from. That's the only thing. I looked through the entire dude. That's the only thing I'd seen him in apart from this. Fair enough. But they're put into like these spangly outfits, the two sort of black guys. One's purple all the time. The other guy sort of switches between red and orange randomly, depending on whether he feels like being...
Garish orange. You
know, being garish or more garish. And So they're all there with the criminals, and the boss is called the Dragon Lady, which, you know, TV tropes is like, oh, I'm all over that, because Dragon Lady is a trope. You know, familiar with that? The woman in charge of sort of martial arts sort of villains is usually the Dragon Lady. It's a term. Either this originated it, or it's using it as a reference. I'm not entirely sure which is more likely, because this is a dumb film.
This is a very dumb film. We can agree on that.
Yeah. So anyway, she's called the Dragon Lady, and she seems to be the only whiter person, like a Swede, that I've ever seen. She's literally the whitest thing in this film, and you know.
Swedes are your scale of whiteness. What is it? Swedes, Finns, the Irish, Americans, those people who turn themselves fucking tangerine. The girls who walk up to a bear, pick it up, take it into a fucking drive-through Starbucks, get a puppuccino, and go, it's a rescue.
I would discourage you from producing a list of the whitest people in a way like this. I feel that might raise eyebrows.
For one thing, you have to get the gingers up there on their own, because if they go out in bright sunlight, they will blind everybody.
That's because the gingers are like off, like on an island by themselves. It's like offshoot. I don't know.
Like, have you ever seen my brother William when he takes off his shirt? He's like, fuck.
Anyway, the villain is this blonde, non-threatening, sort of, you know, ant. She's a sort of, in a regular film, she'd be like, you know, the ant who appears in like 2 scenes and does nothing of note. And then, but she's also like the criminal boss, and everyone's terrified of her. And she fights one of her dudes who's like a martial arts master in like a circular arena with fucking swords everywhere. And I was like, ooh, this is reminiscent of that bit in Flash Gordon where you know, Timothy Dalton fought Flash. Excellent. And then the guy gets like impaled multiple times because, you know, she's amazing and shit. And then she
becomes a pirate.
Yeah, she has a rapier. She's wearing like a headband, and she's wearing like a slightly long jacket, and she's got like a rapier. So in silhouette-wise, it looks like it was fucking Errol Flynn. And I was like, that is awesome. She was
so much amazing, as in the guy she was fighting put in a lot of effort of being thrown around with the slightest glance.
Well, yeah, because clearly the woman playing her had absolutely no idea what she's doing for the fights, and that guy's like, I'm a stuntman and a martial artist and an actor. Ha!
There's a bit just after that scene where she dresses up in a wee stylish dress and then goes out and amongst her casino floor.
Oh yeah, the
Cleopatra Jones and her chaperone, who is currently making sure she's trying not to get herself fucking killed, are playing at a roulette table. Supposedly scoping the place out, but they didn't do anything other than sit at the roulette table and make bad fucking jokes.
I make fucking huge amount of money.
But the villain walks over and then they have an exchange. And I have a feeling that they thought in their head this exchange was very witty and like hinting that they both knew each other was their nemesis and things like that. But whenever they were acting it out, it came across a lot more bitchy. Like 2 teenage girls at the canteen at high school. It's just like... They're both acting their little hearts out, but they've got the tone so fucking wrong.
And in this scene, the villain lady, she's wearing a big green dress, and down the front of it, there's what looks like, I can only describe as disappointed penis flowers.
I didn't see that.
Trust me. Then they framed the shot in such a way that she was standing like behind people almost the entire shot, so you couldn't actually see the disappointed penis flowers. And I kept saying, they're there, but you never saw them. And I'm convinced that they realised partway through filming what the flowers looked like. And so that's why they framed it in that way, in the weird way of having her, like, you know, people's heads always up to her bust. You know, just so people wouldn't see it.
Yeah, that's still love.
Disappointed penis flowers.
She walks over to the table and they have the shot framed in such a way that Cleopatra and the Chinese cop is, I can't remember her name. What was it? Ling?
Li Ming, Mei Ling. It was Mei Ling, yeah.
Mei Ling. So they're both sitting at the end of the table, and then there's this third woman who the villain comes over and just kind of leans on the chair of this third woman and goes, well, what a surprise, these 2 beautiful looking ladies. And the woman in front of her is kind of like, you what? Fuck you too then.
You got this great little scene where these guys trying to escape and this other guy's on a bike chasing after him, and He's driving this scrambler bike down like these really steep stairs, and there's at least one shot where I'm very sure they cut off just before he started and he went over the handlebars because just the bouncing was like that guy got injured so many times. By the end of the bike, he gets crashed off like 3 times. But by the end of it, the only part of him that's structable apparently is his jacket because it's fucking wrecked. But absolutely everything is perfectly fine. Everything else is made of iron, probably.
I've also noticed of films of this era, whenever there is an Asian main character, they always have to wear this really tight turtleneck. The main character always has to wear that really tight little black turtleneck.
I did not notice that. As a trope, I haven't noticed that as a trope.
It's a trope, because like these films you force me to watch, whenever there's a whenever there is a male Asian lead, when he's first introduced, or whenever he's in a fight scene, there's always the little black turtleneck. And I think it is just trying to leech off one of Bruce Lee's villains.
Possible.
Or it was just a trope of the era. But the part of her squad was the boy who's like, he's good with motorcycles.
Yeah.
When he's first introduced, he's wearing that tiny, like, skin-tight little turtleneck. It's just like, oh, this is such and such. He's good with motorbikes. Hi. That was it. And then he disappears until the fight scene at the end.
It's going to be really useful. Oh yeah, there's a spectacular bit where he's inside. He's brought his motorbike inside the casino. I'm not sure why it's called the Casino of Gold because it's not called the Casino of Gold in the film, but it is in the title. But he's in the casino on like the top floor in his motorbike, and he drives it off the edge, leaps off, grabs onto a light, lets the motorbike sort of does a kamikaze run and blows the fuck up of stuff. I'm not even sure what explodes or who it kills, but he takes out some guys that way. It was spectacular.
I kind of want to imagine that he slowly walked the motorbike in and just very awkwardly went into the lift. It was like ding 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 ding.
This is gonna look amazing, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna look amazing, guys. He's just sitting there with a motorbike, with the helmet in his hand, and then you have the 2 people in cocktail dresses kind of looking at him going,
it's fancy dress.
He's like, just drive off the fucking road.
It's fancy dress. It's not a bike. It's my friend Clyde.
Oh, fuck me.
So yeah, it was a film.
It was a film.
Teddy got really annoyed at the writing in it.
Yeah.
Because the end credits, the names do not line up. There's no uniform space in it. Like they're just all like.
Oh my god, you're right.
It's very annoying.
Yeah.
The credits are paused on the screen over here. It's like the character name and the actor's name, they are opposite each other, but the actor's name is like 1.5 times bigger than the character name, and there's no kerning whatsoever, so they're all kind of just staggered around the place, and that is actually really annoying now that you pointed out.
And then at the end, they developed a really weird quirk with editing, just literally in the epilogue, where they were just walking and talking, and then it would have a freeze frame on Cleopatra, and it would sort of fade out to the rest of the conversation. And I can only, either they brought a new editor in for that scene who didn't see the rest of the editing, or someone didn't give a fuck, or they didn't have any footage that they could use properly, and that was all they could do to get around the problem. I don't know which it is, but yeah, something weird happened in the last scene.
One of the mistakes I noticed in the film was there is a character called Chen. And a few times in the film, they accidentally called him Shen. Now, I thought it was just an accent mix-up, but now that I'm seeing at the credit, the character name is Su Da Chen. The name of the actor who plays it is Chan Shen. So that means at several points in the film, they called the character the actor's name.
To be fair, Star Wars did this. There's a scene where Luke Skywalker excitedly yells for Leia, but he yells Carrie.
Aww.
Right after blowing up the Death Star, when he's just landed and he's excited, that he yells Carrie.
There's easy ways to get around this. Will Smith did it. Just have your character named Will.
Oh, I think you're talking making a reference to the Oscars. I was like, are you suggesting that Mark Hamill should have beaten up Carrie Fisher?
You expect me to reference modern things? As if I pay attention to pop culture?
His punishment is more like a reward. He's banned from going to the Oscars for 10 years. That would be fucking paradise for some people.
He doesn't get all his free screeners anymore though.
The fact that, okay, I've been watching a lot of Iron Chef recently, and they kept calling one of the minor bad guys Chen, and I just kept in the back of my mind it's always like, why are they attacking Chen Kenichi? The guy he's not Hiroyuki Sakai, but he's one of the better Iron Chefs.
Mm. So yeah, that makes sense now that why they actually call this character Shen.
Anyway, have we got anything else to say about Cleopatra Jones?
Nope.
Fair enough. It's a medium blaxploitation film, especially, and the most notable thing is the fact that it's blaxploitation minor icon. She's no Shaft, but she's fairly famous in the genre. And then you're putting her over in China, where you've got the crossover with Kung Fu stuff. That's the most notable thing about it.
She's also one of the tallest people in the thing by like half a foot.
Yeah.
There are scenes where she's just walking around markets and such, where she's just exploring around, and she's like literally between like a foot and a half above everybody else. And you can tell that these were not set up scenes. This is them just walking out with a camera and just sitting in the street while people are doing their daily business, and they're just having this woman walk by, because people are looking at her going, fuck up. They're just moving away. But anyway.
Bye bye.
It's a fun film to laugh at.
Whoa.
Bye bye.